Hello and welcome again to Christine's Quarantined Creativity Cabinet. I'm excited today because I finally got in the mail 3 craft kits from Amazon. And I'm going to review those craft kits so that, as Nerdy Crafter would say, I waste my money and you don't. I actually have fairly high hopes for these kits. They're a little bit more adult-oriented than the typical kits you see reviewed. And they look really nice. So let's take a look. Let me just show you the 3 that I got. These are all from a company called Craft Crush. And this is a paper bowl kit. I'll let you see that. And that looks really cool. The second kit that I got is this one. They slapped a bunch of, this is kind of annoying, they slapped a big, but if you can look on this, it's a flower art kit, and you make your little shadow boxes with flowers in them. And then the third one, this one actually came in a shipping box, so it doesn't have labels all over it, but it's called the Inspired Poster Kit. But it's not really a poster, it's these little boxes that have little inspirational things on them, and I think they're very nicely designed. And so I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this one. That's going to be saved for last. We're going to start with the paper bowl kit just because I think this is probably going to take the longest to dry. And this kit was, I spent $14.98 on this kit. I copied that down from Amazon. So we're going to start with, I got to get my sharp pointy object. Like Nerdy Crafter, I'm going to wave a sharp pointy thing at you unless you get me more subscribers, okay? All right. Or unless you like it to have a sharp pointy thing waved at you. And then I'm going to start opening this kit. I know I probably shouldn't be copying Nerdy Crafter's style, but it's just so much fun. Let's just open this up and see what we get. Let's see if it has everything you need. Okay. So I'm pulling it out here. All right. Here we go. Whoa. Look at all this stuff. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is we got, these are the bowl forms, and they have them in 3 different sizes. So we got a small, a medium, and a large. We've got this stuff here. It says water-based glue and sealant. So I bet this is probably a lot like Mod Podge. We've got our little paper discs. And here's a question. Do we have a paintbrush? Is there a paintbrush in here? I was hoping that there would be, oh yes, there is one. It's in the bottom here. There's the paintbrush, little foam brush. And here's our instructional sheet. And so now I'm going to do what Nerdy Crafter does. Okay, so let's get out our instructional sheet. We can throw this behind me. And we'll see. I have a good idea of how this sort of thing is supposed to work. So it says, select a bowl form and place it upside down on your protected work surface. Spread out some paper circles to choose from. Generously apply glue to both sides of the paper circle using the foam applicator. Place paper circle onto bowl form. We find it works best if you place circles around the rim and then work towards the center. Repeat steps 2 and 3 with the next paper circle, overlapping them slightly. Then repeat until the form is filled with circles. It's okay to have gaps between the circles. This is normal. Gently run your applicator around the surface to spread out clumps of glue and apply more glue as needed to smooth out the surface. If your paper is not curving with the bowl, wait several minutes for the glue to become tacky, and then press down the paper edges and they'll stay in place. Let the glue dry until clear. While you are waiting for the glue to dry, wash your hands with soap and water, replace the cover on the glue, wrap your foam applicator in a plastic wrap or a plastic sandwich bag so the glue doesn't dry. Okay, I guess they are assuming that some kids will be doing this. Those are kind of no-brainers for adults. Apply a thin layer of glue over the bowl, smoothing it out as you go. Let dry until clear. Repeat this step 2 more times. Let the bowls dry on the forms for 5 days so the glue can harden. Don't remove earlier or the paper may get damaged. Ooh, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. I would really like to be able to post this sooner than that. But we'll see what I can figure out about that. After 5 days, remove the bowl forms from the bowls. Carefully trim excess glue around the rim with scissors. Peel the form away from the bowl a little bit at a time, sliding your fingers between the bowl and the form as you go around the rim. If you work them apart gently, then the bowl forms can be used again. You'll just need more paper shapes and a water-based decoupage glue. To finish, apply a layer of glue to the inside of the bowl to smooth out the surface. Once it dries clear, it's ready to use. The glue will continue to cure and harden for several days. Okay, now I would actually say that this is a pretty good instructional manual. These instructions seem pretty clear, and they got nice pictures in here. It looks like a pretty simple process. This is actually pretty similar to one of my early videos was a video for how to make a fabric bowl, and that used a kind of a similar thing, except it used strips of fabric instead of these little circles. But I like the little circles, so let's take a look at those. Get them out here. So they got all kinds of pretty ones here. Are they? Yes, they are. They have designs on both sides, which is nice. So that means that it'll be, you'll have designs on the inside as well as the outside. So let's go ahead and just dump these out into a nice little pile on my table here. We're going to set the Mod Podge aside. And what do you think? Should I do a small, a medium, or a large bowl? I'm thinking probably a medium would be best. Just kind of fair middle here. Large bowl might take a little bit too long to do. So here's the bowl. So I'm just going to lay that down there on my table. That's the form. Laying it down on my table. And then I'm going to take my Mod Podge. It says water-based glue sealant, but I think it's probably a form of Mod Podge. And I'm going to pull the... Okay, that came off, but there's still a seal on there. So I have to figure out how to get that off. Let's see. That's not happening really easily, so I'm going to take my scissors to it. Come on. I think this is similar to new jars of Mod Podge. It's hard to get that seal off. Okay. Let's take that apart. Put that right there. And now I've got Mod Podge all over my hands. Look at that. I'll wipe it on my chair. I don't have my baby wipes handy. Okay. Oh! Sorry about that, folks. I just had a little mishap there with the iPad. Okay, now iPad, you need to stay. Stay in place. Okay. So, I'm just going to start. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to kind of pick these things at random, because I think that would be the coolest way for it to look. So, I'm going to take some... I got one here. I'm going to put Mod Podge on it. And I'm going to stick that onto the bowl. And then I'm just going to repeat that process for a little bit here. I'm going to let you see what I've done so far here. Now I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'm going to finish doing the bowl. And then we'll have to let it dry, and then once I finish covering the bowl, I'll let you see me put a layer of the sealant over it, and then we'll have to let it dry. So I'll be back in a little bit here. A few moments later. Okay, I'm back here. Now I've covered the whole bowl as instructed. This is what it looks like. Kind of like how it looks. I have a little bit of a concern here, and that's that these circles are made of a kind of a cardstock, and they're coated, so they're kind of slick and smooth, and that makes it a little bit harder for them to stick to the bowl form, and it also makes it a little bit harder for them to conform to the shape of the bowl. But I'm going to reserve to... Oh, I'm seeing something. I'm seeing a problem here. Look at this. They're starting... I don't know if you can see this. Some of them are starting to curl up. That's going to be a potential problem, I think. let you see that. Oh, look. But right now I'm going to take and I'm going to do a whole coat of the Mod Podge all over the top. Oh, and I'm already seeing a problem here. They're like moving around. Now, I didn't totally follow the directions here. The directions said to apply Mod Podge to both sides, and I thought it would be easier to wait until I had them all down and then just put all the Mod Podge over the top, which works when I make my fabric bowls. So what I'm doing here is I'm discovering that if I just do one of them at a time, I can kind of correct it when it moves around. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry. I think it says in the instructions. Let me just look at the instructions again here. So, gently run your applicator around the surface to spread out the clumps of glue and apply more glue as needed to smooth out the surface. If your paper is not curving with the bowl, wait several minutes for the glue to become tacky and then press down the paper edges until they stay in place. Let the glue dry until clear. Okay. So I guess what I'm going to need to do is I'm probably going to need to just let this dry a little bit until the glue becomes more tacky, and then try to stick down the circles a little better. Okay, just making sure that there's glue all over it. Okay, well, I will see you again in a little while. 24 hours later. Okay, this is now completely dry. It's dried for over 24 hours. I'm not going to do the 5-day thing, sorry. But I feel like it's ready to be unmolded. So let's see how that works. See, look at that. That's a good thing that's making those little snapping sounds. So I'm going to see if I can get it to come off. Here we go. See, that's making a little bit of a... Look at that, see? So snap, snap, snap. Fingers around it. I have given this 4 coats of the Mod Podge, which is what the instructions said to do. So that way you can't say, but Christine, you're doing it wrong. Come on. Ah, there. See, there's the mold, and here is the bowl. Oh, yeah. That looks okay. Now, let's see. One thing I will do is I'm going to take scissors and I'm going to cut off this kind of excess Mod Podge that is going around the edges here. See, there's the bowl. It actually looks pretty good. Looks pretty similar to what was on the box. So now my final step is I'm going to take the Mod Podge and I'm going to give it a coat on the inside. And that's it. And I will return in several hours after this all dries and is nice and clear. And it will be time to do the final analysis of this kit. A few days later. So here's my finished bowl. I'll let you see it here. I actually think it looks really nice. And it holds together pretty well. I mean, obviously you couldn't use this for like food or anything, but it could be used as a kind of nice little storage thing, maybe to put like yarn or whatever in there, like you would use a basket. So, my conclusions for this kit are, okay, first I'm going to rate it on completeness. Does it contain everything you need? It does. So it's high on that scale. Quality of the materials is moderately high. I've got a little script here that helps me to remember what I'm going to say. I would have preferred to have the paper circles be made out of a kind of a non-slick paper, something that would be a little bit more absorbent, because then they would have conformed to the mold a little bit better, and I think that would have made it a bit easier to make. Though, thinking later on, I realized that perhaps the reason that they were made from this kind of slick paper is that a more absorbent paper might have stuck too much to the mold and wouldn't have come off nicely. So, there's that. The glue was high quality. It sealed the bowl very well. I put 4 coats on there, like it said in the instructions, and it holds really well. The quality of the instructions was high. It had nice full-color illustrations demonstrating what you needed to do. I thought that the instructions were well written. The difficulty level, I thought this was actually pretty easy to do. The only somewhat difficult part was when you first put them down, and then you have to put glue on the outside. Initially, because the glue isn't dry yet, the circles want to move around while you're doing that. I actually, though, found that the way to deal with that is to just take your sponge brush, which I had right here, and you just want to dab on them individually, and that way they don't move while you're trying to get that first layer on there. Once you got the first layer on and it dries, then the circles completely stay in place, and you can just brush the rest of the glue over for the rest of the different layers that you have to put on. So then let's see. Creative potential. Basically, how creative can you be with this kit? I would say kind of moderately low, simply because you're basically just making a bowl. They do have a big assortment of different kinds of circles. So there's that. I mean, you could choose whatever circles you wanted to choose. But I don't think that there's enough for any of the circles to like make a full bowl just in that one kind of circle. Also, I think that this actually looks cooler and better if you have a whole big variety of circles on there. And so, when I was doing it, I wasn't even really making any decisions there. I was just sticking them on there at random. But the only thing I was doing was I was trying to make sure that identical ones weren't together. So that's really not all that creative. The playability level is high. This is the medium bowl, so you get a small, a medium, and a large mold. And I have plenty of these little circles left over. I bet I could make at least maybe one big bowl and maybe one small bowl, or maybe 2 medium bowls with the remaining circles. Also, you could potentially take a circle and use it as a template and draw circles of your own on your own paper or cardstock, and then cut them out. Now, you need so many circles for the bowl that would be pretty tedious. But if this is something you're really into, what you could do is you could go to a craft store and you could get a hole punch. They make different hole punches and different sizes of circles, and you could get one that's this size, a punch, and then that would make punching out the circles a lot easier. Also, the glue, I'm pretty sure that glue is some form of Mod Podge. It's very similar to Mod Podge. So you'd be able to, if you wanted to keep doing this and you ran out of the glue, you could probably just get a jar of Mod Podge to work with. So, high playability there. Customization potential. This is a special thing that I put on there. are you able to add things to the kit to enhance the experience or to keep the projects going after you run out of the regular materials in the kit? And I would say that this kit rates moderately high for that. I just mentioned the whole part about that you could make your own circles, probably out of other kinds of paper, using like a craft punch, and that you could use Mod Podge for the glue. Fun level, moderately high. I thought this was pretty fun to do. It reminded me a lot of my fabric bowl things. I have a fabric bowl tutorial that's on my channel. This is very similar to that, and I think making that is kind of fun. And the finished product, I actually think this turned out really nice, and was very satisfying to do. I was happy with that finished product, so that rates high on that scale. Now, my recommendations for the manufacturer would be to possibly make the circles out of an absorbent paper rather than the slick paper, so that way they would conform to the mold easier and they would kind of absorb the glue a little bit. Though I am admitting, now that I'm thinking about it, that maybe that might not work because the more absorbent circles might stick too much to the mold and make it harder to unmold. Recommendations for if you buy this kit, and you want to keep some baby wipes handy to wipe your fingers regularly, because otherwise they get sticky, and then that makes things very frustrating when you're dealing with sticky fingers, because they would rather stick to your fingers than stick to the mold. What I would recommend is when you're applying them to the mold, they tell you in the instructions to put the glue on both sides. I would find that would be way too kind of messy and sticky. So put it on the back side, apply your, and then go around starting at the bottom, working your way up to the top. Then put Mod Podge, the glue, on the outside, like I said before, with using just a little dabbing motion for each one, trying to move it as little as possible. Then after it dries, you could just add your other coats of the glue with a brushing motion. I put 4 coats on here, and then I put 1 coat on the inside after I unmolded it. And you do not need to wait 5 days. Absolutely not. It's not even been 5 days since I've done this conclusion video. I waited 24 hours, and it came right off the mold. So I would overall rate this as being worth your cash.